Tionne Watkins was born to Gail and James Watkins in Des Moines, Iowa on April 26, 1970. According to her memoir entitled A Sick Life, she was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia when she was a child, and the crippling disease landed her in the hospital numerous times. Despite her health setbacks, she continued pursuing her dreams under the stage name T-Boz of TLC.
The Tboz is the funk. Yeah. I'm the rap, and Chili is the straight R&B.
Along with her bandmates Rosanda Chili Thomas and the late Lisa Left Eye Lopez, the group released some of the best songs of the 90s, including No Scrubs and Waterfalls. In between dominating the charts and taking home 4 Grammy Awards, T-Boz was also dealing with volatile relationships. Here's what we know about her dating history. At the age of 3, her parents split up. Her dad moved to Florida to pursue his dreams of becoming a musician, while T-Boz and her mom bounced back and forth between the Midwest and the South. After her mom gave birth to her little brother, they eventually settled down in Atlanta during T-Boz's teenage years. In her memoir, she wrote that she was kicked out of 4 different high schools. She went into further detail in a tweet by saying she was targeted by her classmates for being light-skinned. Around this time, her mom got a job at UPS. With a stable and consistent income, they were able to own nice things like big-screen TVs. T-Boz was holding down a job as well and was dating a guy for several years who hung out with a fast crowd. Even though T-Boz was fairly responsible, she was still attracted to him and those who were involved in the street life. In her memoir, she said that at the age of 17, her boyfriend started giving her checks to cash, worth thousands of dollars each. She would cash them, but little did she know the checks were stolen from a major corporation in another state, and her boyfriend and his associate were running a check scam. After conducting an investigation, the FBI kicked in her mom's front door, busted through the windows, and began ransacking their home. Thankfully, her little brother was at her godmother's house as it all went down. T-Boz said the look on her mom's face as the agents destroyed their home was a look she would never forget. The agents began questioning her mom, asking her how she was able to afford all of the pricey electronics. Her mom explained she was an honest woman working at UPS. Then, with weapons drawn, the questions were directed at T-Boz. Everything began to unfold, and she realized the checks her boyfriend gave her were stolen. In order to escape time behind bars, she was forced to go to the bank and write a confession letter. Because she never kept any of the money, she was let off the hook. She didn't reveal what happened to her boyfriend. However, she did say they kept dating, but sometime later, he got locked up on a separate charge that he didn't even commit. Instead of graduating with her classmates in 1988, T-Boz was held back a year and graduated with the class of 1989. Her mom wanted her to go away to college, but T-Boz decided she wanted to stay in Atlanta so she could be close to home. She enrolled in beauty school and got a job at a local beauty supply store. Life had other things in store, and T-Boz became a member of the group TLC. After releasing their debut album, Ooh on the TLC Tip, they went on their first tour in 1992 when they were asked to open for MC Hammer in Dallas. Boyz II Men and Jodeci were opening for him as well. T-Boz said one member of Jodeci, Dalvin the Great, also known as Mr. Dalvin, was really feeling her, but she was cautious for several reasons. There were a lot of extracurricular activities going on while on tour. T-Boz said Dalvin always had countless groupies interested in him, and there were rumors that all of the guys from Jodeci were also hooking up with the dancers who were on tour. For those reasons alone, she kept her distance. It wasn't until the last week of the tour when Dalvin finally approached her. He had a good sense of humor, which won her over right away. She said their relationship was a lot of fun, but they also had a lot of arguments. Crazy Sexy Cool was released in November 1994. Creep and Waterfalls both landed at the top spot on the Billboard Hot 100. Despite selling 10 million records, TLC was forced to file for bankruptcy in 1995.
How do you go bankrupt when you're like the number one, all girls group out?
I remember they generated $75 million and we only got $50,000 apiece. That's when we held Arista hostage. Literally.
What?
You didn't know about that?
No, I didn't know about this.
That we with guns and we actually literally held Eris the hostage.
The Guardian reports Left Eye's then boyfriend, football player Andre Rison, gave them $15,000 each so they could hire a bankruptcy lawyer. After nearly 3 years together, Dalvin still wasn't ready to take things to the next level. He and T-Boz got married in Jodeci's music video for the song Love You for Life, but just thinking about tying the knot made him squirm. In an October 1995 interview with Westworld, Dalvin said talking about marriage was so scary it gave him the chills. He said that while filming Love You for Life, he had to take several breaks from filming because the wedding scenes were just too real. He said, "I kept seeing myself walking down the aisle really getting married, and I just couldn't take it. That was the strangest feeling I think I ever had." In 1996, Dalvin went back to his hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina, while T-Boz was in Atlanta. Dalvin was staying at a hotel and had an adjoining room with a girl whom he claimed was his cousin, but T-Boz later found out she was a recording artist he had known for a long time. After Dalvin passed out drunk while they were on the phone, T-Boz said a second woman picked up the phone. That woman turned out to be Dalvin's ex-girlfriend. In her memoir, T-Boz said she became so heated she hung up the phone and booked the first flight to Charlotte and proceeded to crack the woman's jaw and broke her eye socket right there in the hotel room. It was a dramatic event, but she forgave Dalvin and continued on with their toxic relationship. In between fulfilling her duties as a member of TLC, her health was continuously on the decline. She was constantly admitted to the hospital, and she wrote in her memoir that not only did Dalvin not understand the disease, he never once visited her in the hospital. T-Boz said his excuse was that he didn't want to see her that way. Sometime around 1998, T-Boz was discharged after another visit to the hospital, and Dalvin booked them a hotel room in Los Angeles. That night, instead of staying with her, he decided to go out with friends. T-Boz was left feeling rejected and disappointed, but she kept herself busy by watching an episode of the Ricky Lake talk show. The episode was about women who were going through hard times in their relationships. T-Boz said she felt their pain and was inspired to write the song Unpretty. Fast forward to April 1998, when an F2 tornado ripped through Atlanta.
It is the worst destruction Atlanta has seen in years. Now hundreds of people in 4 counties are forced to rebuild.
T-Boz ran for shelter in her home, and thankfully, she was safe and her home was spared. However, the entire street behind her was destroyed. At that moment, she realized she could have lost her life and no longer wanted to be bothered with people she was unhappy with. She picked up the phone, called Dalvin, and told him it was over. Even though their relationship wasn't the best, they're still very close. To this day, Dalvin considers her his, quote, great friend for life. Their album Fan Mail was released in February 1999. A few months later, they began filming the music video for Unpretty. Quincy Jones' son, Quincy III, brought along his friend Dietrich Rollison, better known as Mac 10 of hip-hop supergroup West Side Connection. In her memoir, T-Boz said he complimented her on her pretty eyebrows, which amused her. After the video shoot wrapped, some of them went out to dinner, and Mac 10 paid the entire bill. He also made sure to get T-Boz's number on the way out. They began talking every single day, and eventually he asked her out. She agreed, but only on one condition. T-Boz said she never went out on dates solo. She always made sure her family or friends accompanied her. She told Mac 10 he would have to fly her and her friend out to LA if he wanted to see her, and he agreed. After their first date, she and the father of 2 became an item, and by the time 2000 rolled around, T-Boz was pregnant. It was a miracle for someone who was once told she wouldn't live past the age of 30 and would never be able to have children. Mac 10 was living in Calabasas, while T-Boz was still based out of Atlanta. They would fly back and forth to visit each other because T-Boz didn't want to live together prior to getting married. Eventually, he popped the question, and she felt more comfortable about shacking up. They lived out of the Beverly Hills Hotel for a while before buying a townhouse in a suburb of Los Angeles. They were married on August 19, 2000. Gerald Levert was there to sing as T-Boz walked down the aisle, and Mac 10's favorite group, The Whispers, were hired to play at the reception. She had a lot of emotions as she prepared to walk down the aisle. She asked herself, am I making a mistake? Is he cheating on me? She attributed her emotions to pregnancy hormones and went through with the wedding.
Do you promise to love, to honor, to protect, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, till death do you part?
Please believe it.
Tionne, do you promise to love and to honor and to respect till death do you part?
I do for sure.
The stress of the big day completely wiped her out, and she had to cancel their honeymoon to be admitted into the hospital. Afterwards, she and Mac 10 bought a home in Ventura County. Then on October 20th, 2000, 1 month before her due date, she gave birth to their daughter, Chase Rollison. T-Boz and her husband were overjoyed with their new addition, but she faced a new set of issues. T-Boz didn't realize that breastfeeding was actually draining her and worsening her sickle cell symptoms. Every time she would feed her baby, she would vomit and continually lose more and more fluids. T-Boz said her body eventually shut down and she fell into a coma. She was transferred to the ICU and was unconscious for 3 days. When she finally woke up, her mom yelled for a nurse to bring her baby. They laid her daughter on her chest, and her mom told T-Boz, "Tionne, you have to fight. You have someone to live for." Thankfully, she recovered and was released from the hospital 9 days later. Tboz would experience several health issues throughout the next few years, including in 2002 when she spent 2 months in the hospital. Days after she was released, she found out Left Eye had lost her life at the age of 30 in a car accident in Honduras. TLC released the album 3D in October 2002. While Tboz still struggled with the pain of losing someone she considered her sister, she filed for divorce after nearly 4 years of marriage. According to Today.com, she accused Mac 10 of adultery and said he put his hands on her during their marriage. Mac 10 denied the allegations, but Tboz was granted a temporary restraining order which prohibited him from coming within 100 yards of her. Her divorce was finalized in 2005. She wrote in her memoir, "No matter how it ended, I don't regret our marriage." Looking back on their relationship during an interview with Vlad TV, Mac 10 denied things ever got physical between them. He said Tboz's lawyers concocted the story to make her case better. He also stated that they now sit back and laugh about the entire situation, and the two of them are great friends. She was ready to move on with her life. In 2005, she and a friend opened a children's clothing store called Chase's Closet in Houston. She also created an online store for the brand and launched a clothing line by the same name. She also began dating NFL player Takeo Spikes. Things were going well in her life up until fall 2007 when she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It was a health crisis Takeo was far too familiar with. His father had passed away from a brain tumor, so he was able to lend Tboz some support. He also helped her narrow down her list of doctors who would perform her surgery. Tboz said she knew Takeo came into her life at just the right time. In the time leading up to the surgery, her doctor told her she needed to get rid of anything that caused her stress. So she closed down her clothing store and fired her lawyers and her assistant. Her 7-hour surgery took place in November 2007. She woke up to her aunt and Takeo smiling at her. The surgery affected her balance and she lost 3% of her hearing in one ear. Because of all of the medication she was given, she entered the hospital a size 4 and left a size 2X. In her memoir, she said she was prescribed 30 pills a day and it took her 3.5 years to fully recover. By the time 2009 rolled around, Tboz and Takeo were still going strong. When Essence magazine asked if we'd hear wedding bells ringing anytime soon, Tboz answered, "I'm working on it. We'll see, but right now I couldn't be more happy." A few months later, she and Takeo were over. Even though she didn't have a partner in her life, she still had a desire to have a baby boy. An opportunity arose for her to adopt a 2-year-old child from a woman in Iowa. Tboz told People magazine she decorated a room for the child and got everything situated for his arrival. But on the day everything was supposed to be finalized, the mother never showed up at the lawyer's office to sign the papers. Tboz described herself as hurt and devastated, but things were about to get even worse. Billboard reports Tboz quietly filed for bankruptcy in February 2011. After developing a plan to pay $2,500 per month, her bankruptcy case was dismissed in July and the case was terminated that September. Unfortunately, her money issues followed her, and Billboard revealed just 2 months after her case was closed, Tboz filed for bankruptcy again. In her petition, she stated she was past due on her $1.2 million home in Georgia. She also stated her finances took a turn because she was owed $250,000 in back child support. In what many saw as an effort for her to bring in some cash, she signed up to appear on a reality show entitled Totally T-Boz. The program premiered on TLC in 2013, but after 4 episodes, Tboz tweeted she wasn't interested in filming a second season. In 2015, TLC and Nelly joined New Kids on the Block on their summer tour. Gossip reports Tboz hit it off with Nelly's trainer, Dante Wade. In a Facebook post, Dante wrote, "Thanks to this tour, I finally met my soulmate." Sadly, the romance wouldn't last, but Tboz still wasn't giving up on the dream of expanding her family. In her memoir, she revealed the same woman from before was pregnant again, and she promised Tboz that this time the baby will be hers. In May 2016, Tboz brought home her son, Chance Watkins, 9 months after he was born. She told People magazine Chance has filled her life with so much joy. In 2017, TLC released a self-titled album with some help from fans who pitched in more than $400,000 in a Kickstarter fund. And these days, Tboz is spending a lot of quality time with her children. She also launched an online clothing and accessory store called Spoodles in July 2020. Although she's still on her journey of finding everlasting love, we wish Tboz and her family nothing but the best. Let us know if you're surprised by Tboz's dating history, and thanks for watching Real Reality Gossip.